my name is Katie Kohler, and I teach first grade. This is my second year teaching, and in my class this year, I have 17 kiddos. I have a very busy and a really fun class this year, so it's been a great first month of school. In my classroom, we use different forms of media. One of the biggest ones I use for communication with families is Seesaw, and it's a place where I can post newsletters and communicate with families about just any concerns, any positive feedback from the day, any of that. In math class, I often use Zern or Freckle, which are great forms of media because Zern actually lines up with our math curriculum, which is Eureka. So when I teach a lesson, they're able to go on their iPads and go on Zern and actually get more practice on the exact lesson I just taught. In literacy, we often use Lexia and Epic. I love Epic a lot because it especially is helpful to some of my learners that struggle with reading because they have the ability to have the book read out loud to them. So it gives everyone the ability to read different books and to understand what's going on by having the book read to them. I use these different forms of media because when I came to the district I work at, I was able to learn a lot about them and do different trainings on how these different forms of media are useful and how they play a positive role when it comes to our curriculums and the different standards we want our students to meet by the end of first grade. I was able to learn a lot from the various articles that we were reading this week for this class. One of my biggest takeaways from the articles was from the BrainWorks article, and it was the part of the article that they talked about multitasking. It really stood out to me because it mentioned how multitasking can be successful when you do two tasks that use different parts of the brain. But then it also mentioned how multitasking can cause problems when you need to utilize the same part of the brain. This made a lot of sense to me because I can see that some students are able to multitask and it works really well for them. And I can also see that sometimes multitasking can be a real challenge. And I see this with myself as well. So it makes a lot more sense now that I understand the parts of the brain and how that works regarding multitasking. Um, I think that as I go forward in my teaching, I really want to think about the different forms of media and how it can positively impact my students' teaching. I really want to make sure I continue to research different forms of media, and I want to make sure I understand. I want to incorporate the TPAC model, TPACK, by making sure I understand what my learning target is before deciding what form of media I want to use. And I want to make sure I think about the level of integration for the form of media I can incorporate on my SAMR model. And I also want to make sure I incorporate the four C's: collaboration, creative thinking, communication, and creativity into all my forms of media that I have my students use.